Answered in kind, 49. The golden path between sin and karma. For centuries, the word sin has been lacquered with dread. Sulphurous imaginings, juridical heavens, infernal courts, eternal sentencing. The nervous system recoils at the very syllable. Yet beneath the barnacles of ecclesiastical fear lies a far subtler principle. One that rhymes not with punishment, but with coherence. Strip the word of its theatrical brimstone, and something quieter remains. Sin, in its most primordial contour, is not wickedness. It is misalignment. It is dissipation. It is fragmentation of interior coherence. And karma, when cleansed of fatalistic superstition, is not cosmic revenge. It is momentum. It is the lawful continuity of pattern. It is the echo of intention moving through the corridors of nervous system, word, imagination, and embodied relation. These two, sin and karma, are not adversaries. They are the same phenomenon, described from opposite cultural vantage points. One names deviation, the other names consequence. Neither requires eternal fire. Both require awareness. Consider the nervous system. When a child is born into a field of emotional illiteracy, where anger erupts without naming, shame lingers without language, boundaries are blurred, and validation is conditional, that child does not sin in the moral sense. They adapt. The amygdala, vigilant sentinel of survival, begins constructing predictive models. Loud voices mean danger. Disagreement means abandonment. Love must be earned. Safety is found in silence. These are not sins. They are survival inscriptions. But survival inscriptions, when unexamined, become adult destinies. This is where karma begins. Karma is the nervous system's loyalty to its earliest conclusions. It is repetition compulsion disguised as fate. It is the electric fence one continues to touch, not because one is wicked, but because one has never been shown the circuitry. And so a person grows and says, "Why does this always happen to me?" But what always happens is not mystical curse. It is pattern coherence. Where you focus, there you are. Where attention flows, neural pathways thicken. Where imagination rehearses grievance, the body prepares for war. Where language repeats self-condemnation, the physiology obeys. The word is not ornamental, it is directive. Across civilizations, whether in the Upanishadic whisper of mantra, the Taoist instruction to turn the light around, the Greek logos, the Hebraic dabar, the same insight reverberates. Speech shapes interior architecture. For over 4,500 years, mystics who never met each other have testified. Inner voice directs psychic formation. Belief configures perception. Imagination prefigures experience. This is not magical thinking. It is neuroplastic inevitability. The brain does not distinguish sharply between vividly imagined threat and external threat. It recruits physiology accordingly. Thus, when someone has been taught to narrate themselves as unworthy, sinful, defective, broken, that narration becomes embodied. Sin, then, becomes internalized condemnation rather than misalignment, and karma becomes self-fulfilling neurology. If you were never taught emotional intelligence, never taught to differentiate fear from intuition, guilt from responsibility, anger from boundary violation, then your inner word may turn tyrannical. You may police yourself with inherited voices. You may mistake anxiety for moral conviction. You may call survival vigilance the voice of God, and thus the golden path becomes obscured. Let us close another corridor. Heaven and hell need not be metaphysical real estate. Let us imagine them as experiential configurations. Heaven is coherence. When thought, feeling, intention, and action align. Hell is fragmentation, when one part of the psyche wages war upon another. If one clings desperately to positivity, denying grief, anger, or uncertainty, that is not heaven. That is repression. Peace is not manic brightness. Peace is integrated wholeness. Some chase happiness compulsively because they were never shown how to tolerate stillness. Stillness feels unsafe. Silence feels like abandonment. So they pursue stimulation, applause, validation, ideological certainty. External validation becomes surrogate nervous system regulation. But no amount of applause repairs internal fragmentation. Outsourcing inner authority is the slow construction of personal purgatory. And yet, no punishment is required. The consequence is inherent. Fragmentation exhausts. Projection isolates. Resentment corrodes. The dam fills. Eventually, eruption. Not divine wrath, accumulated incoherence. Psychological projection is the outward displacement of unintegrated affect. The psyche cannot tolerate self-conflict, so it exports it. Families do this. Nations do this. Religions do this. Political movements do this. Unacknowledged shame becomes moral superiority. Unprocessed fear becomes crusade. Inherited trauma becomes ideological absolutism. Collective karma is nothing more than shared projection amplified by emotional contagion. If individuals do not learn to turn the light of awareness inward, to witness rather than weaponize their interior turbulence, societies will ritualize scapegoating indefinitely. Hell becomes social. Heaven becomes tribal illusion. The golden path requires something rarer. Radical interior accountability. What if you were never taught? Here lies compassion. if you were never taught emotional discernment, if no one modeled calm conflict resolution, if apology was weakness, if vulnerability was mocked, you inherited chains you did not forge. Generational karma is nervous system inheritance, epigenetic stress patterns, attachment imprints, unquestioned dogma, but inheritance is not imprisonment. The moment awareness dawns, momentum can be redirected. Neurons can rewire. Language can be reclaimed. The word can be purified. You can guide your mind with your voice rather than be tyrannized by it. This is not self-hypnosis. It is conscious authorship. If you say daily, "Nothing ever works for me," your predictive coding apparatus will filter for confirmation. If you say, "I am learning, I am aligning, I am becoming coherent," the nervous system relaxes enough to perceive new pathways. Not because the universe rewards flattery, because perception expands when threat diminishes. The kingdom within is not myth, it is integrative consciousness. Sin is not divine offense. Sin is chronic incoherence between what you know inwardly and how you behave outwardly. When intuition whispers, "This relationship is not aligned," and fear answers, "Stay, it is safer," fragmentation begins. When conscience says, "Speak honestly," and shame says, "Remain small," dissipation begins. When heart guidance warms the chest and inherited ideology constricts it, misalignment begins. No flames required. The consequence is experiential. Anxiety, resentment, self-betrayal, numbness. Karma is the momentum of those betrayals repeated. But here is the golden thread. At any moment, coherence can be restored. The golden path between sin and karma is conscious coherence. It asks not, "Will I be punished?" It asks, "Do I desire peace?" It does not threaten eternal damnation. It inquires, "Do you wish your road to be rocky? Do you wish to keep touching the electric fence? Or are you ready to learn the boundary and walk elsewhere?" Boundaries are not punishments. They are energetic realities. If you violate another's boundary, you will feel resistance. If you ignore your own boundary, you will feel depletion. The zap is information, not condemnation. Masters across continents have whispered this same law. Attention is creative. Imagination is formative. Belief is structuring. Word is directive. Some resist this teaching because they were trained to distrust their own power. Perhaps power was shamed. Perhaps ambition was ridiculed. Perhaps obedience was rewarded. To keep oneself small feels safe, but safety without coherence becomes suffocation. Illumination is not ascension out of body. It is integration within it. It is when the light no longer leaks outward in compulsive fixation. It gathers. The nervous system stabilizes. The heart and brain synchronize. Projection diminishes. Responsibility increases, not as burden, but as authorship. Heaven and hell recede as motivators. Peace becomes the compass. It was never about fear. It was never about shame. It was never about cosmic surveillance. It was about coherence. Where you focus, there you are. What you rehearse, you reinforce. What you speak, you sculpt. What you imagine, you embody. Break the pattern today, or the cycle will repeat tomorrow. But the moment you turn the light inward, gently, steadily, the golden flower begins to open. And what blooms is not moral perfection. It is integrated presence. Not terrified obedience. Not self-condemnation. Not inherited chains, but lucid, sovereign coherence. The kingdom within is not conquered. It is recollected. And when recollected, sin dissolves into misalignment corrected. Karma dissolves into momentum redirected. Heaven dissolves into peace embodied. Hell dissolves into fragmentation healed. And the road smooths. Not because fate changed, but because you did.